A very good evening to everyone. Am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. So, a very good evening to our guest speakers and my dear faculty members. Today, we are going to start with the webinar organized by Department of Biotechnology. And the motion for today's webinar is the industrial prospects of biotechnology. At this point, biotechnology industry is serving us as a boon to various economic and social segments. And today, we are blessed to have, honored to have with us our three established alumni to share their fair share of knowledge in this industrial field of biotechnology. The first speaker for this evening is Mr. Omoto Dashgupta, Scientist Deputy Manager, Cura Tech Biologics Private Limited. Omoto, sir?
Yeah, hi.
Yeah. Good evening, sir. You can go on now.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Can you see my slide deck?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so basically I'll start. So today, the topic that I'll be presenting is the industrial prospect of biotechnology. I'll give an overview. So coming to slide number 2, where we see in the current situation, the need of the hour is a video presentation instead of I being able to go there and present. So I welcome all the faculty members and all my friends and all my seniors and wish them that they are in their best of health. So I'll start my presentation. Hello, everyone. Coming to slide number 3. So currently, my dear juniors are at a state where they have to decide whether they want to go to industry or academia. So many things comes in their mind. Basically, whether they will get money in this field, whether they will get any job security, whether they will have the freedom to work on what they want, or any sort of job responsibility. So basically, in this seminar, I'll give an overview about how basically the industry works on. Academia, I will leave it to the other esteemed speakers. So starting with, for all of you, just see the third slide where it says that you are here, means the students are at this position where they have three options principally. So first they can go to either academia or they can go for any government research institute or in the industry. So the flow path that is necessary is already there. So basically it's up to the students or up to the person what he wants. He or she has to set his priorities right, whether he wants to be a tenure track professor or he wants to be a CEO of an industry or he wants to join some government research institutes. So it's up to them. So basically, before starting their career, they are all in their bachelors, so they should understand that this field requires some patience. So instantly, you can't get what you want, unlike IT fields. So it is very much important that you set your path clear. Coming to slide number 4. Slide number 4, basically this slide is quite personal to myself, means its opinion is up to me. I don't know what others feel. So when I started my career in biotech, I used to feel that how the industry would look like, whether I would be like always working on microscopes or making buffers or doing some plant biotechnology studies or something on a smaller scale. But certainly, right now, after spending like 7 years in the industry, I understand that with time, everything changes, the perception changes. So basically, in the next few slide decks, I will present how the biotech industry works like. So definitely, this was my imagination. The three pictures that you see, and currently what I am doing, there is some difference. So I'll guide you through how it works like. So before going to how the biotech industry works like, so I would like to point upon my juniors the mode of career development. So for career development, what you need a proper career planning. First and foremost, you need to learn about yourself. Means what you want to do. You want to go in the informational technology sector, you want to stay in your core field, or you want to do anything else. You want to go for an MBA or what. So this is up to you. So first think that what are your strengths and weaknesses. Then identify those skills, means what is the principal skill in which you want to work on. This is very important. Unless or until if you see your friends that okay, some are going for IT field, let's go for an IT field. If somebody is going for MBA, you go for an MBA. Somebody going for a PhD, you go for a PhD. If you are not set with your priorities, your career will be jeopardized. So that's why first and foremost, it is very important for all of you to identify your skills. Then identify what are your research career options. As I told, you want to go to academia, you want to be in the industrial sector, or you want to join any government institution, you want to be a professor, whatever, you have to set your priorities. Now, based on that, you need to select your electives, whatever subjects you are studying right now. Be it biotech, be it something else, means whatever, you need to select your subject that you want to grow on and develop on the subject. It's very important, I'm telling you. Because once you pass out, means there will be a plethora of subjects that you have been offered, like molecular biology, biophysics, industrial biotechnology, fermentation technology, then some bioinformatics. So you have to set your our institution or our university offers a hell lot of courses. All of them are important, but give stress to those courses in which you want to develop your skills in. Finally, know your values. And after that, once you link your subjects with what you want to do, identify them and develop in that. Then only you can prosper in your field, whatever you are doing. Coming to the next slide. So in the job scenario is a representation of many factors in the sense interests or passions which you like, your skills, satisfaction, values, or whatever you are contributing to the society, or what is your value in the market. It can be an amalgamation of all, and sometimes it can be either of them. So you need to take the first step before identifying what your interest looks like. Okay, so you can't get everything in one go unless or until you are lucky. So when I started my career, I thought I'll be doing R&D work. So when I was recruited after my master's, I was recruited by Dr. Reddy's. So when I felt that I'll be going for R&D, but the organization felt different, and I was put into operations, manufacturing. So you have to identify. So then I felt okay, my interest doesn't lie in manufacturing. So after a span of 1 year in Dr. Reddy's, I moved to Biocon, where I got a position as a senior scientist to develop some of their molecules and take it to the end stage. So basically, first advice to all of you juniors is to take the first step. So there can be n number of steps, but after n number of steps, you will understand. Once you gain that experience, you will understand that where your interest lies in, which set of skills are there required, what sort of things give you job satisfaction, and how can you contribute to the society. Then only you will get an ideal job. So please give your first step. Then coming to the next slide. Next slide details out how the biotech industry plans out. So the biotech industry currently, in this current scenario, it is divided into the research and development section, the technical operations or the manufacturing sections, the services section, and the commercial operations section. So it all starts from what we have read in our BTech, from drug discovery, and it ends till business development. So as I told in my first or the second slide, you need to identify where you want to put yourself into. Maybe it is drug discovery or a preclinical research, maybe the product development you want to be part of, or a clinical development, project development, something like that. Maybe somebody is more interested in seeing the larger picture, how whatever you are contributing is going to the society. Then you can join manufacturing or sales. So it's all up to you, juniors, to understand where your interest lies. So basically, you need So this is how the industry spans out, and you need to identify, map your interest in which section you want to go into. You want to go into upstream. Upstream means the fermentation technology, or the downstream, or you want to go for HPLC analysis, or you want to formulate the final drug substance, whatever. So there is a plethora of opportunity, juniors. I am telling you, there is a plethora of opportunity, but you need to span your career. It is a highly rewarding field, but it takes its own time, own sweet time. You need to have patience. Sometimes it will be very frustrating, because when I at that point of time, when I passed out of my college, I mean, it was under recession, there was no job, but thing was ki my basics, I always felt that I need to be very clear with my basics, the protein, the amino acid, the carbohydrates, whatever you are studying, you should be very deep in what you should be knowing, very deep in what you know. It is very important. Unless or until you are clear with your basics, you can't be street smart. You can't play around with what you want. So it's very important. Whatever the courses that you are getting, try to get into the basics, and from those courses, try to identify those courses, map yourself as per this slide where you want to go into, and give full stress on that. Coming to next slide. So about the job scenario that I am telling. So there is a plethora of jobs that is there currently. It is difficult to get, I understand, but there is a plethora of jobs. If you get it, there is nothing better than that. It is a highly rewarding field, I'm telling you. In this current situation, things are improving. Things are better than before. You can go to the drug discovery unit and development. You can go for companies which offers biotechnology tools, companies which offer biotechnology services, some other areas of biotech like the agricultural sector, the molecular diagnostic sector. We are all there, means all the alumni are there, and we can help you out in identifying where you want to be put into. So always connect to us for whatever you want to. You can go for government institution also. Government institution is little tricky. You need to have crack examinations. You need to prepare for it, or you need to be a tenure track professor to go into such institutes. Then there are medical devices industry, and finally you can go for academia also. Academia means the next two speaker, I guess, will be more better in answering this thing. So I'll be restricting myself to the industry. Coming to the next slide, the Indian biotech sector is a booming field currently. So a lot of companies are opening. A lot of companies are there already. So don't feel disheartened. So I would suggest all of you be very positive about what you are doing. So there is the vaccine industry currently, Bharat Biotech. The next slide will tell what all are the industry. Basically, the hormones industry or the peptides industry, insulins. Biocon is the biggest insulin company which is there. Then there are monoclonal antibodies in industry, gene therapy industry, agricultural companies. So I'm telling you, there is a lot of opportunities that is there. So, but you need to be very specific as to where you want to go, as I already told. So based on what I told in the previous slide, this slide takes some 30 minutes, take some 1 minute or so, or 30 seconds, and see what all are the companies which are offering, from vaccines to hormones to insulins to monoclonal antibodies to gene therapy to agricultural companies. There are a hell lot of companies all over in India, and they are doing some really good work. So basically, we have that scope that something good is coming up in the next 10 years. I feel the biotech industry will grow. Though the pace is slow, I feel it will grow. Some of the major monoclonal antibody companies, we already know Biocon, we already know Dr. Reddy's, but other companies are also opening up. Many new technologies are opening up, something like gene therapy, which we had read way before, and we used to get fascinated that how this gene therapy will work. Now companies are opening their units for gene therapy. So the prospect currently, it is a little slow, but the future prospect, I feel it's little bright. Coming next 10 years, it will be a good field. Now, after this company, the product-based companies, there are certain companies which are CROs, like contract research organization. They take up work from other big companies like Amgen from abroad or Eli Lilly from abroad and do their work like the purification, the upstream, the downstream, and they basically the same thing the IT does. The bigger companies from US are outsourcing it to India. Similarly, the bigger companies, biotech companies of US are outsourcing it to India. So here also we have a lot of opportunities which is coming up. Other than that, we have clinical data management. So you can take up courses like biostats, be very specific with the statistical aspect, understand these companies, what they are doing, the lot of clinical trials that are being developed by the companies currently. Let's say in this current COVID situation, a lot of data they are generating. So these companies are taking up those work, taking up the data that is coming up and doing statistical analysis. So in this scenario, in such scenarios, in my previous slide and this slide, I would suggest that people take up subjects like the downstream processing or the upstream processing, molecular biology, biostatistics. These all subjects are of prime importance currently. These all means biostatistics. So I'm telling you, if you know statistics, you can go for any field. You can go for a new terminology which is coming up is like AI ML, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and implementation of biostatistics, implementation of statistics in that. So if you know statistics clearly as to what happens when, you can clearly make a career field in that path. And believe me, it is a highly rewarding field. Coming to next, these are some devices facilities, medical devices facility companies. These facilitates our biotech work like Biozene, Thermoscientific. Thermoscientific is we already know they are making various kits. Waters, Agilent, these are HPLC based companies. They make HPLC units, HPLC columns, SciEx, Phenomenex, Danaher. Danaher was with GE acquired. GE was acquired by Danaher. GE Biologicals was acquired by Danaher, and then Merck. And there are so many companies, believe me. So I'm telling you, stressing on the fact that identify your skills and identify the subjects. Finally, coming to skill building programs, how you can come to the industry. So other than taking up courses which is relevant to what you want, what you or where you want to go, you can take a lot of internships, maybe a internship with industry, or you can go for Biocon Academy. Biocon Academy is a 6 months course where they charge some amount, but they make sure that the students get placed. Then they have Reliance Institute of Life Sciences. They are training the undergrads or postgrads and getting them recruited. Then there is something called BITP program. There is something called BICEP program. There is something called BCIL program. These are very important. So basically, when I started my career, I didn't know. I knew only one company called Biocon. Now you see how many companies are there. So basically, now before at the start phase of your career, it is important to do a lot of internships and do a lot of networking. If you are going for academia, also do a lot of internships under professors. Write to them. Do whatever to go. If you want to go abroad, do a lot of writing in advance to the professors, identify their skills, identify what they are working on, what sort of papers they are publishing, build a relationship with the professor. Or if you want to come to industry, do a lot of internship. In this matter, a lot of networking is required. So please, I'm telling all of you to be very specific with the networking aspect. So LinkedIn is something equivalent to Facebook on the professional aspect. Facebook is something which is for fun, and LinkedIn is something for building that network, building contacts, and going and approaching those people. So I am telling you, build a lot of network. On top of that, there is something called Coursera. Coursera, and as I told, identify the courses before. If you are not being offered those courses by your institute, go for this course, Coursera. There are a lot of modules which are there which you can learn. So I am assuming that to come to industry, means I am suggesting that to come to industry, do a lot of internship and a lot of networking. It's not that easy, but once you break through, it will be easy. So basically, the prime thing before coming to industry is to develop a lot of network, build your skills, build what you want to do, identify your skills, and followed by identify the courses which is necessary to attack those skills. Very important. Finally, there should be a handshake between the academia and the industry, so that in this current situation, the need of the hour is that academia and industry should work in hand to develop a successful vaccine. So basically, if there is a successful handshake between both of them, we can expect to have a vaccine for this COVID soon. So with this, I conclude my slide. If you have any queries, please let me know. Hello?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. That was really what I guess it was like we needed this. Some points I liked a lot when your thing was that getting a direction. It is very important, I guess. Getting
Yes.
a direction as to what we want to do, right?
Yes.
But then, sir, when we are in the college, in the preliminary stage, learning the subjects, then we do not have the outlook as to where these subjects will lead us to. So, do you suggest that we give in equal efforts to all the subjects right from the beginning, or we choose at the beginning and then start getting in depth with one particular, two particular subjects according to our liking?
Yeah, I would suggest the former case, because basically before coming to industry, you need to have a strong base. If you are going for academics also, or if you are going for industry also, if you want to survive anywhere, you need to have a strong base. If you neglect some of the subjects, it will be very difficult. So basically, before starting, have a clear idea about all the subjects, and then pick those, cherry pick whichever subjects or whichever area in which you want to develop your interest into.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Given the current scenario, can you suggest, current this pandemic scenario that we are prevailing in, which subjects would you or which courses would you suggest to our students to take up right now? You said about the Coursera and the other platforms which offer courses. Now, sometimes students get confused as to which courses would be more aiding. So, if you couldn't give it some of your suggestions as to which course would be more useful.
Sure. So in this current scenario, what I feel key, developing a vaccine is important. Okay. So for developing a vaccine, what is happening? So the path the path that a molecule takes from the lab till the final phase, where it is like commercialized, people should know how that path should go. So for that path, basically it can be divided into the R&D phase. R&D phase may comes your molecular biology, comes your what you call the biophysics, the downstream aspect, the upstream aspect. Then take up subjects like the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, how it happens. So basically in Coursera, you can get subjects like how a molecule starts from scratch and it goes till the end. So there are courses like what you call related to chromatographies, means what sort of chromatographies are there, or development path of a medicine, something like that. These all courses will give you an idea that how things will go from the lab stage till the end stage. Okay. Other than that, I am stressing once, means if the COVID situation was also not there, I am stressing the fact that take up courses like biostats, take up courses like MolBio, take up courses like which deals with, I don't remember, it was biophysics earlier when I used to be there. taught by Sudeep sir about the chromatography courses. Learn about chromatography. Then there is course by there used to be one course by Sevok sir where he used to teach us what you call upstream. These all subjects are very important. Means if you want to come to industry, you need to be very clear about what is happening and how it is happening. A reactor, a fed batch reactor, different modes of chromatography, how it happens, why it happens, structure of protein, structure of means how ammonium sulfate helps protein in precipitation. These all are very important. Your basics has to be very clear. I always tell my juniors before they are starting for gate preparation or net preparation or coming to industry, the first three chapters of Leninger, like the water molecule interaction, the proteins and the carbohydrate, these three chapters has to be like 2 ones are 2, 2 twos are 4 table. It should be imbibed in your blood. Then only you can survive. These three are the basic. You leave everything. If you are not clear, if you want to be in biotech industry, but if you are not clear with your basics, you will falter. So it is very important that you take up those courses.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And since you mentioned about the LinkedIn profiles, can you just guide as to how someone can use or develop the LinkedIn profile and get opportunities via the profile?
Okay. So basically, what I would suggest means for BTechs, what I would suggest try for internship. So you approach, let's say you approach one X person. Let's say your area of interest is molecular biology. So as I'll share the slide deck later if you want. So if you search for one person in some of the industry and what they are working into, if what they are working into matches with your career interest, tell that I am so and so. I have completed my semester. This is my marks, and I would like to have an opportunity in your esteemed organization where I want to have a 3 or a 4 month or a 6 month internship. So this internship opportunity helps you a lot. Once you come inside the company, you network with a lot of people. Once you network, it is like a tree. Means once you connect with other people, they let you connect with other people. So it grows on exponentially. So I would suggest go in LinkedIn like that. There will try writing to those people, but thing is there will be failure. For 100, I am telling you, for 100 applications that you give to them, you will get 4 or 5 positive response. Even out of 4 or 5 positive response, only one will be successful. But don't be disheartened. I am telling you, don't be disheartened. Keep on, don't pester them, don't irritate them. Send mail once. If they are not okay, send second time. If they are not okay, just remind them. If they are not replying, ignore. Then go for the next person, like that.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
No problem.
Thank you. So we will move on to our next speaker for the evening. Amartya sir, you can start presenting.
1 second.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on to the second speaker for this evening is Dr. Krishnendu Chatterjee, sir. He's Business Development Manager, Infinity Blockchain Labs, Taiwan. Krishnendu, sir.
Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Very
sir.
good evening from Taipei, Taiwan. And let me share my screen. Can you see the screen, everyone?
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible.
Great. So before I begin, I would like to thank Department of Biotechnology, Haldia Institute of Technology, for giving me the opportunity to share this experience with you all. And so before I begin the topic, biotechnology, industrial prospects and beyond, I'd like to briefly introduce myself. I am Krishnendu Chatterjee. I did my BTech Biotechnology from Biotechnology Department, Haldia, from 2006 to 2010. So my top 3 achievements during my BTech days were winning the football tournament, getting a GATE score, and getting a job in the final placement with Wipro. After that, I chose to follow MTech from NIT Rourkela in chemical engineering using my GATE score, wherein I got the opportunity to work in nanoscience, and following that, I did my PhD in nanobiotechnology from TIGP program, which is a collaboration between Academia Sinica and NTHU Taiwan, which I completed in 2017. Following that, I have been in the industry as a business development and salesperson, working in blockchain and the software development fields. So let's dive in. So today's topic, it will be very brief. Biotechnology beyond academia, career selection process, options that students have, and the final conclusion. So as my friend and earmate and colleague, Mr. Omoto said, choosing a very specific area is very important before you cultivate everything. So most of you are in BTech or MTech, so you can treat this as a professional degree and can choose to pursue anything after this, or you can choose this to be a stepping stone for guiding your future. So you don't have to basically know everything, whatever is being taught in your field. But as Omoto said, you should have a fair idea about almost all the things, and then you can choose to specialize some of the things that you really, really like. So you can ask simple things to yourselves and check what you like. For example, the MTech and final year students, you do experiments. So do you really like to do experiments? Would you like to continue in the R&D? Would you like to do it as a day in and day out job and spend your time with experiments? If so, R&D is your thing, or might be a thing. Soft skills. So a lot of people like to interact with others. Do you like talking? Do you like understanding what others think? Do you like to express your views without being offensive? So having good soft skills is very important, but sometimes this can influence your career choices. So if you love to do these kind of things, business development and sales might be your thing. Teaching. Teaching is a very, very difficult job. You have to be very patient, and you have to understand how to present your views to your students. So a lot of you might not like all the subjects, but you go to the class for your teachers. A lot of you might not like the teachers, but you go to the department for the subject, whatever the case be. But everybody has their own unique teaching style. So if you can teach, then maybe this is something you can do for your future. Now, high flyer. So basically, it means there are various high impact jobs which are under tremendous pressure. You'll be always under tremendous pressure. You'll be always on the clock. So if you like these kind of jobs, maybe a patent lawyer can be something that you can pursue in. Money-minded. Well, so amongst all these things, there are a lot of people who come from maybe businessman background, or people who like to earn money or who like to spend money. So they always think of ways to get it. So it's not any way shameful that you like money. So if you think that, okay, I want to start earning right after my BTech, then maybe you have to find something which suits your alignment. So I'll come to all these things later on. But basically, these are the things that you should ask yourself at least a year before finishing your course, that is BTech or MTech. And this will really help you when you finally decide to take a career option. So I'll dive in. What about the selection process? Basically, you are currently studying biotechnology. There are various things, as Omoto said, that you can do. He gave a very, very descriptive idea about what are the current prospects in the field of biotechnology, from vaccines to agriculture to genomics to proteomics, upstream, industrial biotechnology, etc., etc. But for a student, when I was a student, it's really very difficult to choose something and decide that, okay, I want to do this. So you have to start by basically asking yourself some very simple questions. Do you like to study more? Do you value education? If the answer is yes, maybe academics is something you should prefer. If not, okay, you may be somebody who has to earn. Maybe there's a need for him to earn immediately, or maybe he wants to directly go to the industry. That's okay. Then you can focus on non-academic aspects. So let's start by the academics. So academics doesn't mean that you have to be a tenure track professor. There are many things you can do. So for example, if you have the patience, then choose being a teacher, having your own lab, guiding students. If this is your thing, go on. If not, you might join as R&D. Well, R&D is not always about making new discoveries. It may be sometimes very boring, and it can be just repetitive work, or it can be just incremental work. But still, it's very high pressure. But of course, the pay is higher compared to teaching jobs and professorships, tenure track positions, etc. Well, sometimes you might not have to do a PhD to get into these kind of R&D positions. So basically, you can join a lab as a research assistant or a lab technician. You can join jobs in hospitals or institutes as lab technicians. So there are very many opportunities for you to choose what kind of jobs you want to have, even utilizing your own education. The next thing is scientist position, which is you must have a PhD. So basically BTech, MTech, PhD, or BTech to PhD, whatever the path may be. So after PhD, you have then the choice of choosing a government lab, a private lab, or R&D labs in industry. So these are all related to having academic positions, but the R&D labs in industry is more focused on having products. So you'll be given a fixed directive, and you have to do those experiments, run the process, and finish to have an end product. So this is why it's very high pressure, but the pay is higher, of course. So let's come to the non-academic part. So of course, the first thing is if you want to immediately start working, have a higher salary, go and join the IT industry if you're interested in computers and programming. If you are somebody who would like to experience more in this biotech field, but you do not want to study as much, or you do not like the bookish knowledge, there are various core or semi-core industries that you might join. So this is blue biotech, which is related with marine aquatic life. Green biotech, which is agriculture, which can be further divided into aquaponics, hydroponics, mushroom culture, etc., etc. And then white biotech, so which is products from yeast, molds, plants, etc. So you can basically try and choose any of the interests that you have from these, and then join and start learning. So maybe 3 to 5 years down the line, you would know the whole process of this industry, and then you can start on your own journey. So some of my peers did this, and they are very successful. So these are the things that you can do if you want to earn higher salary, and if you're not interested for going to a biotech related job as per se immediately, then you can join IT. And finally, coming to the BD and sales aspect, so you can join pharma, IVD, medical devices, etc. industry as business development sales. But remember here, even if the income is steady, the pressure is high and you have to travel a lot. So choose something that you want in your own comfort. So basically, this is how you should select what kind of career you will have. Now, coming to the career choices. So academics is pretty straightforward: BTech, MTech, PhD, postdoc, followed by tenure track positions. Non-academic, it might not be so straightforward. So you can join as a scientist, go up to chief technical officer. You can be BD. You can have technical positions. You can even take registered government exams and become a patent agent, which is a rage nowadays. And you can still stay in the industry, work with scientists, and help them apply for patents. And if all these things are nothing interesting for you, and you are more interested in the IT, you can just join the IT industry, followed by an MBA, and you can then basically do everything. So basically, BTech, you can just take it as a degree. You learn some concept, you learn some applications, you have various jobs from IT to BD, sales, core, semi-core, etc. In MTech, well, it's still a degree. You learn more concepts, you do some basic research, then you can have BD sales roles, you can go into core, semi-core industry. But do not necessarily join the IT industry after MTech, because you lose 2 years of your MTech experience then. PhD, well, you have knowledge, you have training, you can join the job in the core and the semi-core industry. And following postdoc, you can also join a consulting firm. So these are the various options that you currently have. And this is how you should plan all these things, keeping in mind your strengths, your interests, and then start planning 1 year before the completion. Reach out to your seniors, discuss with your peers, and the most important thing, which you must have, is a backup plan. So if you want to do an MTech, definitely apply for GATE, study as hard as you can, but also have other options. Maybe you will not get the GATE exam, maybe you don't want to do that. Okay, maybe have a job as a backup. So that's it from my end. And if you have any questions, please feel free.
Thank you so much, sir. That was really a step-by-step plan, as you very well described every step. And I don't think so we have any questions. We do not have any questions as of now. If there is at all something, I can get back to you at the end of the session.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, moving on to the final speaker for this evening is Dr. Shonindu Chandra, sir. He's a senior scientist at Gayagan Technologies Private Limited. Shonindu, sir? Sir, your mic is off.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah. Good evening, all of you.
Yes, sir.
It's been a pleasure for me to get an opportunity, such kind of, this kind of. So it's been a long time. I completed my graduation 2008, then masters in 2010, and it's for a long time I'm back with my juniors. So it's a great opportunity. So as said by our previous speakers, Amurto and Krishnendu, first thing is that you need to decide what you want to do. That is the first point. I remember when I was in my final years of BTech, and it was just about 1 month to go to finish our degree, final year project. That time, when I was writing my BTech thesis, that time my BTech guide, my project guide, Dr. Rajarshi Banerjee, he asked me a simple question. What's next? You are going to finish off your course in next month, and what's next? What's your plan? By that time, most of my friends already got a job in either IT, or some of them already cracked the GATE and selected in MTech programs, and some of them are going abroad with their GRE score and all. So I was not the topper of the batch, so I did neither. So it was a horrible situation for me. Before that, I was just trying to soak in what is last few months of or few days in the college and everything. So believe me, I couldn't sleep for 5 days, and I just kept on thinking, what's next? And fortunately, I realized that I want to do some research I have to, and doing that, to do that, I need to do some higher studies. And then later on, I did my MTech and then PhD. So looking at the current situation and looking back our time, I can tell all the juniors that situations are way better than the way it was in our time. When I was doing my BTech or MTech, I could hardly tell you 5 companies in biotech industry, 5 or 10 companies max, not more than that. But number of companies have increased a lot, and opportunities are even more than it was in our times. I would request all of the juniors not to restrict yourself in academia or industry. First, you need to think what you need to do. First, you need to understand whether you want to go to academia or industry. If you want to go to academia, there is only one option: go for higher studies, one step at a time, and then go for the another. But if you really want to go to industry, think in a different way. Try to think at which industry or which position you want to go. There are plenty of positions, plenty of things you need to know. I mean, we need to consider before choosing industry. Don't restrict yourself.
Shawnee,
To understanding. Yes.
you're frozen. Can you just repeat your last line because you're frozen for a minute?
Okay. So don't restrict yourself in biotech industry means only the pharma industry. No, there are plenty of different industry which all come under the biotech industry. I can broadly divide biotech industry. I'd like to broadly divide biotech industry in several different other industries like technology industry. So this is what in which something. Just a minute. Yeah. So technology industry means here you have the liberty to learn particular any technology or any instrument or anything specially, and then you can be an application scientist, an R&D scientist. You can even those who likes to be in marketing or sales, those who will complete their MBA after BTech, they can go for and they are interested in selling and other stuff, they can go for a technical sales specialist. These are the different things we can think of as a technology industry. And then I would say there are another thing that we hardly give a thought as a biotech specialist. There's a financial service. Financial services could be like quantitative analysis, then equity research analysis, and health economist. For a BTech student, it could be a bit difficult, but it is not undoable. Think of a scenario. Let's say a company X got an FDA approval for drug A, and you need to know, or they have applied for a FDA approval for drug A, and now you think that for a stock market perspective, wants to invest, and the stock market analysts or the brokerage firms, they want that they want to leverage on those informations, but they don't have the idea that what's that X drug molecule have the implication if they got an FDA approval. But being a biotech student or biotechnologist, you can definitely do some research work. It's just some Google, just some other thing. Let's say the drug X molecule is for diabetes, and it is going to get a FDA approval. So now think, what could be the market size of that drug in USA or in Europe, whatever. Now, if you can deliver this kind of information to any brokerage people or brokerage, company, they will take those information and leverage on those, and they will ask their clients to buy those buy the stock of that that company. I even didn't know about these things. Actually, after my PhD, I got one of my friend gave me a call and he asked me that X company got have applied for drug A and they are applied for FDA approval. So could you do such kind of research for me? So I said, I don't have any idea. So he said, just do Google and tell me. You have the idea about the drug molecule or anything, and you can give me. So I did some sort of research and I gave the idea. And I got some reward too. I won't lie that I got some reward too. So this way, these could be another opportunity for BTech students. They are, it is still an underexplored area. You can think of joining any equity research as an equity research analyst or as a quantitative analyst. All you need to have your BTech skills. Along with that, you need to have some understanding of some financial aspects and other things. And next, I would like to say that intellectual property. Yes, patent attorneys are in great demand, but most of the lawyers who are working in patent as a patent attorney, they don't have understanding of the science, of the biology. They have understanding of the laws, but not the biology. So think in that way also. Patent attorney could be an opportunity for BTech students, even for the MTechs also. Then if you have a flair of writing, let's say you have a flair to write for the common people, for the mass, then you can think of writing as a skill for your next step for job, right? Writing and editing. You can be a marketing communication specialist, scientific writer, or technical editor. Even a lot of journals are, writing house or the editing house, they are hiring technical specialists like BTech students for doing some editing part and all. Actually the content writer who work as a content writer, they know the content, but they don't understand the science. They don't understand the technology. So here the BTech students can play a bridge between them. Then we can think of information and data management. Yes, you can opt for an IT job, obviously, but other than that, learning some codes like in R or Python, you can always act as a data management specialist. Healthcare industry is a big industry, and they are really running short of those data analysts. They really need them. And in coming 2-3 years, a lot of companies are going to come where they will have data analysts. And to them, having a good, because most of the data analysts or the coder they are getting now are from IT background. They know the coding part, fine, but they don't understand the biology or the science part behind the data. I remember one of the instance when I was in my first job, I was doing some flow cytometry analysis of the samples. At that time, getting a flow cytometry is fine, but analyzing it is a painstaking job. It takes hours to analyze those things, and having access to those softwares, it's not that cheap, because you can generate flow cytometry data for 100 of samples in 1 hour or 2 hours, but to analyze them, it can take 6 or 10 hours, 12 hours, and having an access for the software is a very costly thing, because software for single use can cost you almost thousands of dollars. So, but you can do these things with some simple R codes. That is where I started learning R, and I can manage, because when I went to
Sir, you're mute. You've gone mute.
Is it okay now?
Yeah, now you're audible.
Yeah. So that is what that is where I got when I went to a person who knows coding. I talk to that person and to make him understand what I want from that data, it was a horrible task for me. So that time I started learning R, and I designed a process to which through which we can analyze the flow cytometry data in more easier way, and it's free. R is free. So in this way, these things are getting.
So you can think of these ideas and you can leverage on those ideas and to get a new job. I mean, different types of job. Then, of course, as Omoto said, that clinical and medical affairs, so clinical data management and medical science liaison, then medical affairs writer, anything. These are the things where you need some specialization, and you need to do some specialization, and then you can easily get some kind of a job also. Believe me, biotech markets are growing at a never before, rate, and opportunities are plenty, but you have to leverage on those opportunities in a proper way. And for that, I request all the juniors to follow 2-3 different things. First, you select where you want to apply for those jobs. Whether you want to in agriculture or whether you want to apply in pharma, it doesn't matter. But make your CV look like that you have certain skills mentioned in the JD, and you are applying for an agricultural company where you are that company. Let's give you one example. Last couple of weeks ago or sometime, we posted a job opportunity in the portal, and we got a lot of CVs. And the opportunity was for a microbiology position where the candidate should be able to do some kind of microbial screening and all. But the CV we got, candidate mentioned that they know cell culture, they know, developing assay, they have done some clinical trial projects and all. So am I interested in those CVs? No. I am interested in candidates who have certain knowledge or certain skills that are mentioned in the JD. So read the JD carefully before applying to any job, and then modify your CV according to that JD. Put some keywords which are present in the JD into the CV. So, and then you draft a cover letter according to that JD, because no one is interested to know that whether you have a cell culture experience or antibody cloning experience or whatever for a microbiology position. So these way you need to think of and develop your CV in proper way. And then, as Omoto said, that networking is a big thing, because I do believe that searching a job is a full-time job. So networking is a big thing, and try to use and be friendly with LinkedIn rather than spending more time in Facebook and Twitter. I'm not against them. I do follow them too, but try to take things in a professional way when you are in LinkedIn, because this is, although it's a networking, social site, but it's a networking site and it's a professional networking site. So have a proper photograph, a professional photograph, not a kind of a thing that you are in a park and having a candy or ice cream, not in that way, or have a proper professional photo with your suit and all, or whatever, in a formal dress. And then approach to the person who you are approaching in a professional way. So try to take help from networking sites. They are very good. People will definitely help you. So these are the things you need to know and take care about when you are applying for the job. And as Omoto said, or the Krishnendu said, that opportunities are plenty, and it's growing in never before speed. So try to take leverage on those things. I think I have spoken enough, so, and my time is up. So Yashna, you can I think I'm done.
Thank you so much, sir. There are two questions for you. Would you like to take them now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So the first question is, what are the works of a data analyst as a student of biotechnology pursuing for the same? You mentioned about data analysis work, right?
Yeah. So for
So
data analysis,
there.
sorry.
What are the works of a data analyst from as a BTech biotechnology student?
See, I can give you one example. What I did, uh, I was in a company. So at that time, we approached a hospital to take our service. That time, that hospital said that we are not in a position to take your service, blah, blah, blah. So we said that we believe that there was certain gap between your service and what you are doing. So that time we got some data and we gave them a format and we asked them to give some data. So in that data, they mentioned that say they have 30 beds. So based on month, when these 30 beds are filled and what are the types of patients they were getting. So based on that, we did some analysis and we showed them that in winter month they are going to get a rise of this kind of patients. In summer they are going to get another set of patients, and for the dialysis unit they are getting this much of patient rush in patients for dialysis unit in this month. So this way we gave them a break even and a real detailed data analysis. And so these things, and after that they were very impressed and they took our service for different kind of assays and all. So this way, so data analysis, for data analysis you need to know certain languages like R or Python. And there are plenty of courses are freely available in the net. Try to dig into those things and try to read a lot of books for data analysis, and you will get a lot of things. So data analysis, now look at the current situation. As per the pandemic, there every day new studies are coming out that the peaks have already passed, or some are saying that peaks are coming. So these ways, different things you can do with data analysis. It is being in high demand for. It doesn't matter whether you are in academia or R&D. Even for your PhD also, you need to do data analysis. Try to think beyond Excel, and that will give you the opportunity to do anything with data analysis.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Now, the next question is, how much does data science help in the biotechnology career?
It helps. It is its applications or implementation in everywhere.
Okay.
You are in academia. It doesn't matter whether you are in academia or in industry. For academia, you are doing PhD. You are generating lots and lots of data, and you need to analyze them to come to any conclusion. So let's think of a flow cytometer. You are generating from a single run. You are generating. Let's say you are analyzing 1 lakh cell. So you are generating data point for 1 lakh cell. Is it feasible for anyone to draw any curve or any plot from those 1 lakh cells? And as I said, that getting a paid software for flow cytometry analysis is huge. I mean, it can cost you thousands of dollars to get a single license software. And many a times, labs don't have that much of funding. But if you have a knowledge of R or Python, you can do it freely. Believe me, writing a code can take 15 days or 100 days or 1 month time. But after that, the analysis are going to take as many as 5 minutes for a single set, max 5 minutes. So this is for academia. And for industry, you need to do, for every set of experiment, you need to do some sort of statistical analysis, whether your experiment is meeting some criteria or not, whether you are getting some sort of development from your previous batch. For me, let's give you one example. I'm working on a product development. So here I was for the first set, I did some one set of experiment and I got certain results. Let's say I get some expression X. So, and after that, I got some, did another experiment with different parameter and I get the expression Y. Now I need to compare whether this X and Y are significantly different or not. And for that, having a paid software or something kind of some data analysis software like SPSS or GraphPad, these are paid software. You can't always have the liberty to have those things in your company. And adding those paid softwares in your R&D, it increases the budget. But if you have the knowledge of this R or Python, you can easily do these things. These are free. So you can do any sort of analysis with data analysis skill.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. And since you mentioned about the CV, okay,
Yes.
so some question from student that about the CV, what would you suggest about the do's and don'ts of the cover letter?
Yeah. So do's and don'ts of the cover letter is, first thing, you need to read the JD carefully. The job description, in that job description, the company will definitely provide certain things that they are looking A, B, C, D or E skills from the person, and their desirable skills are E, L, G, H. Try to make yourself fit in to those. See, not in India, in abroad, in Western countries, they are not doing any sort of manual CV screening or anything. They are doing it with through a software that is called ATS, Application Tracking System. And for that, the HR will do, HR will simply sit and screen through some keywords. If they are in your CV or in your cover letter, that will be picked, else all will be rejected. Now think of a position you have applied, you are the perfectly fit, but you don't have certain keywords in your CV or in your cover letter, and you have applied. That person did some software job, the software did his job, and your CV is not selected, and you won't get any answer why your CV is not selected, and you will have no idea why it is so. So for the first thing, you need to know, need to put some keywords from the job description in your CV as well as in your cover letter. Make things simple, make things chronological. I have certain templates I can share with you, and not in run right now. I can share it with you. I'll be happy to help our juniors to make a CV or cover letter, how to make those things. But in other time maybe. So that time I can share you all the details of this. But first and foremost thing, you need to pick certain keywords from the JD and make put in those things. And always avoid other extra garbage informations. Like I said, someone is looking for a microbiologist position, and you are applying. While you are applying, you have put that. You have the skills of cell culture. You have skills of screening some drug molecules in ABC cell line. It won't help you. It won't help you. It will show you that you have skills in those things more than the required one. So they won't select your CV. That is the thing. So be precise and put things in a clear-cut way.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Those answers were really helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, there's a question for Krishnendu, sir. Krishnendu, sir, are you there?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, you were talking about the different steps to get into the industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So during this lockdown, especially for the final year students who have missed so many labs, okay, so the lab work has been lagging. So how do you think that those what options are there when someone can cope up with those techniques? Because after this, when they go into the job field, it will require or demand those efficiencies from the students. But in this situation, when people are locked down at home and not getting those hands-on experience through via the industrial training, which was cancelled, or via the college, so how do you suggest the students can cope up with that?
Right. So basically, if students are looking to get into the core industry or semi-core industry, they will be definitely given a job training. So having some experience beforehand is obviously very good. For example, some of the students might be working in, say, bioseparation, which was my area of work during my BTech. So I learned how to do SDA space so well that I could even do it in my sleep. But it doesn't mean that that is the only step that I learned. There were other things that I learned as well. And if students are not getting the opportunity to learn these steps or having hands-on experience, it really doesn't matter so much, because when they are selected, they will not be selected based on what exactly they know or how exactly they know. They will obviously go through a training phase where they will be taught all the things again, especially if they are a new joinee. And once they are in that, they can then acquire the skills and go on. And in the meantime, if some of the students are looking to go in the industry, as Dr. Swarnendu and Amorto said before, it's very important that you try and get an internship. So even during an internship, you get to learn many techniques that might not be taught in the labs. So these might as well help you for getting the jobs. So some of the places where you are in presently, might be there is a biotech industry, or maybe there's any industry which offers you the position to go and have hands-on experience in an industry. That experience itself will help you land the job, because working in an industry for 6 months or 3 months gives you an idea how things work. Similarly, working in a lab for 3 months or 6 months gives you an idea how things work. So this would be really helpful for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. And regarding what key practical knowledge should a student have for these industrial jobs?
So
Like, what about the key points a student should have in mind?
So it depends on the industry you are in. Let me take you an example. For example, fermentation technology. So fermentation technology is used in all the industries, right? So what sort of fermentation technology is used for making beers? So top down, bottom down. So there are different kinds of beers. So what other things are there? So you should have a basic knowledge about this this thing, but ultimately it's up to you to cultivate what you want to do. So if you have enough experience, if you have enough drive basically to learn something, you will of course learn it, and then you can apply it in the industry. So as Dr. Swarnendu said, there's a huge dearth of people for analysis, so statistical analysis for data, be it healthcare, be it drugs, be it trials, whatever it may be. So there's a huge dearth. So if you can learn Python or R just by yourself and make simple programs and you can run them, it will help you in getting these kind of clinical statisticians jobs, or it will help you even if you want to do further higher studies. So when you're sitting at home and you don't have anything else to do, maybe play around with a software like R or Python, which is very self-intuitive and you can learn them easily, and make small programs and see how it works. So it doesn't necessarily have to be always that you have to learn some hands-on experience. And during Corona in India right now, it's very difficult to get all these kind of hands-on experience. So maybe learn the software and that will help you much better.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And the final question for you would be, since you mentioned one of the good things in your early days was getting a job in Wipro, right?
Yes.
Okay, so would you give some suggestions as to how to suit up for an interview?
Oh, well, interview is totally depends on how the person reacts with his interviewer. So my technical round was really bad, but it's okay. They didn't really matter because I told them that clearly if you are hiring a student, you will be retraining them. So my technical skills at present doesn't really matter. And that is something which impressed the interviewer. So have an open mind, be ready to get any kind of questions and answer them to the best of your strength. The easiest thing I would say to an interview or even to a Viva or any kind of job position is to play to your strengths. So if you are, say, for example, a team player, highlight that I'm a team player. If you have been the class CR or the GS of the Rivera, highlight that. If you have some leadership qualities, highlight that. So do not be very obvious, but highlight all these points in the interview whenever you get the chance. Take your time to answer. Do not rush, and be professional. Just do not wear a shirt which has not been pressed, or do not get it tucked out, or have a polished attire, and speak slowly. So these are the things which really help me. So I think this will all help you. And one of the things which we did before the interview, and Omarto can attest to that as well, that we took mock interviews. So basically there was one of the students who would walk in, and we were 3 or 4 of us sitting in a room, and then we will start throwing questions at him, random questions, and he has to answer them in a way that best suits. So basically this will enable you to prepare your mind for anything that can be asked from you in an unexpected manner. So this will help you a lot. So have mock interviews with your peers, maybe 5-on-1 or 3-on-1. This is the ideal scenario. And then each of you gets to ask 2 or 3 questions, and then give your feedback. What do you think is best?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I would like to add one thing what Krishnendu said in this, that if you have mentioned anything in your CV, try to defend that. I have seen many a times that people, at least for in the core industry, I have seen many a times that people write in the CV that they have done project or the summer intern or the final year BTech project on this. But when interviewer is asking some question on that topic, he or she is keeping absolutely mum. That is going to play a very negative on you on that day. So try to defend whatever you have written in that CV.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. I really hope these key points and valuable suggestions do come in use. And thank you so much. With that, we come to the end of today's webinar session. Now, I would request Kia Shao ma'am to give the vote of thanks to our speakers.
Thank you, Ashna, and very good evening to respected speakers, colleagues, staff, and students. Now, our webinar talks are over. The title of today's webinar was Industrial Prospects of Biotechnology. All of the presentation have mesmerized us today and beautifully pointed out the prospects of biotechnology in a variety of industries. We also came to know about the importance of network, soft skill, and CV, required for job search and the way to make it. So, on behalf of the Department of Biotechnology, Haldia Institute of Technology, I thank our honorable speaker, Mr. Amartya Dasgupta, Dr. Krishnendu Chatterjee, and Dr. Swarnendu Chandra. Despite the busy work schedule, natural calamity, and severe coronavirus infection across the globe, Amartya, Krishnendu, and Swarnendu agreed, prepare, and spend their valuable time to deliver here. All of us have been immensely benefited from their presentation. So once again, my sincere thanks and claps to all of them. We are also grateful to our Honorable Founder Chairman, Vice Chairman, Secretary, Registrars for their inspiration. I also appreciate the wholehearted support we got from our director, principal, and departmental head to make it successful. My special thanks to all members of the organizing committee, especially Ms. Ashna Dattu, Ms. Devangi Chatterjee, Mr. Devanko Das, Mr. Devraj Majhi, Mr. Akash Manna, teaching and non-teaching staff, for their constant support and cooperation. My heartfelt thanks to our students for their active participation. With this word, I formally announce the end of today's webinar. Thank you all again and wish you a very happy Durga Puja.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Happy Durga Puja to all of you. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Happy Durga Puja to all of you. Bye.
Thank you, sir.